Whether you want to refer to it as God lying or God changing their mind, what God says is going to happen to Adam in Genesis 2:17 doesn't end up happening.
All right, let's see what he's got.
And in Genesis 2:17 we have God telling Adam not to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and threatening him, for on the day you eat of it, you will certainly die. This construction in and of itself does not mean you will be condemned to die. It does not mean you will suddenly realize you're going to die. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means you will certainly die.
So death is not simply physical nor spiritual. It can also be in terms of your mode of living. Gregory of Rome points this out when he says, "It is to be understood that death takes place in two ways, either from ceasing to live or with respect to the mode of living." John Chrysostom also notes that in Genesis, how he died was by the decree, it was by the very nature of the thing, for he has rendered himself liable to punishment, and this is how he has died. Afrahat backs this up by showing that there are instances in the Bible where people are called dead even when they are still alive. For example, 1 Timothy 5:6, the woman is called dead even though she is very clearly alive. God is simply stating that their life is not going to be in communion with God anymore, and they're not going to be in a state of peace.
And there is a temporal scope to this, on the day you eat of it, which does not refer to a 1,000-year period that presupposes univocality that overrules the text in order to protect a dogma. It means on the 24-hour period that you eat of it, or within 24 hours of eating of it, you will die.
Now you say many times that if we interpret it this way, that we are presupposing univocality in the Bible. But I would argue back that you are presupposing univocality in the Bible by saying the word yom has one meaning, the 24-hour period, and the word death has one meaning, the separation of spirit and flesh. Now the argument that the Hebrew word yom simply means a 24-hour period is just not true. Starting off with 2 Samuel chapter 22 verse 19, David says, "They confronted me in the day of my calamity." Now, did David have a 24-hour period of chaos or calamity? Of course not. He had multiple years of calamity. Another instance, Psalm 59:16, "For you have been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble." Again, was the day of his trouble a 24-hour period of trouble? Of course not. And one more for good measure. Proverbs 25:13, "Like the cold of snow in time of harvest." Does this mean that there is a 24-hour period of cold or snow in the time of harvest? Of course not. As Ambrose of Milan says, the word death is subject to manifold interpretation. That word does not simply mean a 24-hour period. Based on the context, it can mean multiple things. In conclusion, God did not lie or change his mind. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.